probably got away with many times without there being any consequences to anyone but himself. And because it happened so many times that maybe he'd be using drugs or partying with somebody, with a friend, or by himself, he'd go about his way and never hurt anybody and think, well, nothing bad happened that time, so nothing bad's going to happen again. That was like playing Russian roulette. And in this case, the chamber was filled on this one day. And this time, when you thought nothing was going to happen to anybody else or didn't care about whether anything was going to happen to anybody else, something did happen to someone else. In any event, this case has tragic proportions beyond all measure. I can say in reviewing it in preparing for today that I read every letter, every email that was sent. There were some that I think probably were done after seeing someone else's email and then kind of signed their name to the same email, but I think they were probably they all came to me heartfelt, to people who felt an emotional tie to the victim.
Mr. Martin, I could never ever begin to understand the scars I've caused to you as a husband. To lose your best friend and your wife, Carrie Martin. I couldn't imagine all the pain and suffering I've caused to your whole family. I can only hope for when you think of her, you think of how much of an amazing person she was and all the amazing, joyful experiences you shared with her. All the people she helped save out of her job at the hospital. She was truly a blessing to society. It's important that you think of those times with her, when her name is brought up, rather than how it was brought to an end. I do want you to know that I do take full responsibility for Carrie Martin's life, physically and consciously. There isn't a night that passes that I don't pray for your whole family. Carrie Martin's life was taken recklessly by me, and she will never be forgotten. I assure you that this tragedy will remain in me always and forever in every aspect. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm very touched.
I've been robbed of the simple ability to make a quick phone call, to share a story, ask a question, or merely say that I love you. I've been robbed of holidays, robbed of evenings together, of days together on our boat, robbed of sharing that moment when our youngest daughter, Julia, graduates from college, gets married, has a grandchild, or when Miranda has her first child. We've been robbed of that by you. I could go on and on about the changes in my life, physical, mental, and spiritual. But quite simply, the love of my life, best friend, was robbed from me by you, Royce Kowalczyk. And I'm now destined to holding on to emotions of days gone by, of scents and sounds, tastes, and days that remind me of all that's been ripped from my life. On March 2nd, I started my day like any other day. Waking to share morning coffee with my wife, Terry. Watch the news together for an hour before we prepared to leave for work. But March 2nd was significantly different for us that day in that we were enjoying our fifth morning in our new home together here. Since Terry had been able to move here from our home in Columbus and had started a new job at the Cleveland Clinic. It was our new adventure and an exciting time for us. Terry and I had been married nearly 10 years. I celebrated my 10th anniversary without my wife because of you. Our morning coffee and morning conversation was different that day as we were planning to take my mother to dinner that evening to plan a memorial service for her husband who had passed away 2 days prior. Ironically, in less than 24 hours, I would be planning a memorial and mass for my wife. because of you.
Of the people who wrote letters and who spoke here today, other than the defendant and his family, are counting on me on imposing the maximum sentence that I could impose on Royce Kowalczyk. And as I sit here, I would certainly make more friends if I did that. But my duty is to follow the law. And my sentence must be proportional to not just the damage, because there are so many people that we see who are killed as a result of criminal activity. This is as tragic as any. In some ways more tragic because the victim was such a wonderful person. And under the law, the issues that I must deal with also include that the facts of this case, Mr. Kowalczyk was actually getting treatment before the second, after his first arrest and brought to this court. I have to rely on the facts and not hearsay as some of the information may have gotten out to the public. He wasn't out on probation in this case when he did what he did. He was a drug addict, and he was a selfish drug addict, as drug addicts are. And this is the kind of damage they do. But when I look at the Royce case, not too long ago, I think the facts in that case were much worse. The result wasn't worse because of death had been involved. And I'm not trying to measure one life versus another. But I know that in the Royce case, the defendant was nearly three times over the legal limit, driving at a high rate of speed, leading the police on a chase. That's terrible. You weren't far behind in what you were doing. You may not have been as conscious as the actions of Mr. Royce, and that maybe goes more to the extent of criminal intent. This first case, Mr. Kowalczyk, 11 CR 084127, had you not gotten in any further trouble, you would have probably qualified for intervention because you were not a repeater, you were not a violent offender, you were not a repeat felony, or you had not committed a felony in the past. You would have qualified for probation. It's not happening. Again, on consideration of all matters set forth by law that I am required to follow, it's the judgment of law and sentence of the court the defendant be sentenced as follows. On count 1, 5 years at the Lorraine Correctional Institution and a fine of $10,000. Count 2, merged, no sentence. Count 3, 1 year at the Lorraine Correctional Institution. Counts 4 through 8, no sentence. And count 9, there's no sentence on count 9 years after it's been merged as well. All counts in this case are consecutive and concurrent to the sentences in the 2 previous cases. Upon your release from prison, there will be 3 years of mandatory post-release control.